right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and this video is going to be my 2021 Olympia predictions specifically for Classic Physique. Now, yesterday I did my men's open bodybuilding predictions, so if you have not caught that, go check that one out. But this is going to be the predictions for the Classic Physique category. So let's start off with the qualified competitors list, and this is almost twice the size of the men's open competitor list. 30 qualified competitors. This is the final Classic Physique Olympia list. We're actually going to have to break this into two segments to actually fit them all on the screen. This is a really pretty deep lineup for Classic Physique, so these are going to be some interesting predictions. So let's go into reading the list here. Zeke Andrews, Breon Ainsley, Jose Maria Mete Burry, Chris Bumstead, Alex Combinero, Tommy Clark, German Pastor Cueto, Neil Curry, Saber Favors, Brian Jones, Urs Kalsinski, George Kalawalu, Songwon Kim, Brady King, Laszlo Corrali, Gabriel Zancanelli, Machado, Fabian Meyer, Peter Molnar, Courage Opara, Ramon Raka Karaz, Terrence Ruffin, Abtin Shekarabi, Mike Summerfield, Tony Tavares, Robert Timms, Darwin Andre Urub, Wesley Vissers, Divine Wilson, Ing Sung Yu, Danny Yunin. That is the full competitor list. Man, that was a mouthful, but pretty competitive one for Classic Physique Olympia this year. So if you look at the scorecards from last year, obviously a lot of those names are top 10 contenders from last year. Breon Ainsley, who was 3rd place, Alex Combinero, who was 4th place, Logan Franklin, who was 9th. He's not going to be in this Olympia. You've also got Brian Jones, who was 5th place. We just saw him at the Arnold Classic. Terrence Ruffin, who was runner-up. Danny Yunin, who was 6th place last year. Chris Bumstead, a returning defending champion, looking for the three-peat. So this is going to be a very competitive one. And I was a lot closer when I predicted the Arnold Classic results than I was to the Arnold bodybuilding results. I got 5 out of the 6 that were in the top 6 right. And 2 out of the 3 of my top 3 were the actual placings of the show. The winner, Terrence Ruffin, and then Logan in 3rd place. I'll try to do my best on my Classic Physique Olympia prediction. So let's get straight into it here, 6th place. I'm actually going to go with Courage Opara here. So Courage came into the Arnold Classic just a week ago, and he placed 4th there. And the reason why I've got him in 6th at the Olympia is because he beat the guy that was 6th last year by a couple of placings. Danny Yunin was 6th at the Olympia last year, but he was 7th at the Arnold Classic. Now, Courage also beat Brian Jones, a much taller, much bigger guy, which I think is a very encouraging sign for his physique. And he was right behind Logan Franklin, who took 3rd, and I really believe that Logan, had he been able to compete at the Olympia this year, he would be in my top 6 for sure. So Courage Opara, based on the caliber of guys that he just beat at the Arnold and the placings that those guys had at last year's Olympia, I think he rounds out the top 6 in 6th place. Now, coming in 5th place, I've actually got Breon Ainsley. So Breon slipped last year from 2nd place to 3rd place. So he went from champion to 2 years of not being able to reclaim the title. I want to point that out, and I think that's really noteworthy because never in the history of bodybuilding, at least the history of the Mr. Olympia, has a Mr. Olympia lost the title 2 years in a row, and their placings got worse from year 1 to year 2, and then been able to come back and win the title again after 2 consecutive losses on the 3rd try. Now, there have been bodybuilders that took long gaps and long hiatuses and then came back and won an Olympia. But a comeback like that has never been done. On the 3rd year getting the title back, especially when you take into consideration that Breon is 41 years old. He is significantly older than the current champion, Chris Bumstead. He's actually significantly older than a lot of the guys that I believe are going to place ahead of him this year, and I think that works to his disadvantage. He's got time not on his side. He's got the history of the Olympia title also not on his side. Personally, I don't think that Breon's Olympia placings are going to improve. I think they will continue to drop, and I don't think he will ever reclaim the title. I think the Breon era was good. The rivalry with Chris was good, but I think that era has come to a close, and a new era has begun in Classic Physique, and I think Breon's time is about up. Now, that brings me to 4th place. In 4th place, I've got Brian Jones. Now, Brian, he didn't really deliver at the Arnold Classic. We had high hopes, high expectations for Brian going into the Arnold, but we need to see him much sharper, in much better shape for the Olympia stage. Now, because of that, I guess you could really call it a hiccup in his momentum, I originally had Brian Jones in my predictions top 3. But after seeing the Arnold and the package that he brought to the Arnold, I changed my mind a little bit. So I'm going to put Brian Jones in 4th. That's my prediction for Brian. I think, we've seen guys like Greg Doucette predicted that Brian would place 2nd this year, and I think that's still possible. But we're talking about likelihood here, not possibility. I think based on seeing that the package that he brought to the Arnold, I think the likelihood of him bringing a package that's deserving of 2nd place at the Olympia seems slim after that 5th place placing at the Arnold Classic. So I still think he's going to improve. I think he's going to come in tighter for the O, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a stretch to say that he's going to be really in the mix for the win in that top 3. But I do think he really is one of the most talented guys in Classic. He certainly is one of the biggest, but the conditioning seems to be the if factor right now. Now in 3rd place, I've got Alex Combernero. So Alex was the runner-up at the 2021 Arnold Classic. He was the champion of the 2020 Arnold Classic. So he was going into this year's Arnold as the returning defending champion. And also last year, Alex was 4th behind Breon in 3rd. And then obviously Chris Bumstead won the show and Rough Diesel was in 2nd. So with Breon in my predictions moving down to 5th, it seems like the judges really like Alex's physique. He brings really, really good conditioning. He brings really good detail. I can see that. To me, he just really doesn't have the size that I like to see more in Classic, but he does bring the condition. He does bring the detail. His posing is very good. And overall, the judges seem to really like his physique. And momentum-based, Arnold Classic champion 2020, Arnold Classic runner-up this year. We know that he's probably going to come in shape here. I would say top 3, 3rd place is a safe bet for Alex Combernero, especially when you look at those Arnold Classic placings. I think this is the year he moves into that conversation for top 3. So that brings me to 1 and 2. I'm guessing you guys probably know my pick for number 1. That's probably not going to be a huge shocker. And you guys might know my pick for number 2. I've got Terrence Ruffin coming in 2nd again. Now, a big reason for that is obviously the fact that he was runner-up last year, but the biggest reason for that is the Arnold Classic victory that he took this year. He finally won his first Arnold, which I thought was his posing routine was phenomenal. I thought it was very touching the way that he paid tribute to his coach, John Meadows, the way that he improved, the physique updates that we saw of him going into that show, the rapid transformation that he made, and he was able to come in shape, and not only come in shape, but win the Arnold Classic. I think it's tremendously impressive. It gives him crazy momentum going into this Olympia, and I think he's going to be right there again, pushing Chris in that 2nd place spot. I think he really deserves it. I think Terrence is, I've said this on multiple occasions, but I really do think Terrence is the best poser in the IFBB across divisions, hands down, right now. That being said, Chris Bumstead for the win. Chris is who I'm predicting to win the Classic Physique Olympia. And really the reason for that is I have not seen a weak point in Chris's armor. Everything that Chris has posted indicates that he's improved. He's healthy. He looks bigger and better than last year. He looked more conditioned than Terrence when Terrence was prepping for the Arnold, and Chris was further out than Terrence from the Olympia. Condition looks on point. It looks like his back has improved even more. Size looks on point. I don't see anything going wrong with Chris this year. And that being said, I don't think Terrence could beat him last year, and I don't think Terrence is going to beat him this year. Terrence, he's got a very different physique from Chris, and that's one of the things that I love about Classic Physique is it becomes very apples and oranges, very subjective, even more subjective, I think, than men's open bodybuilding, because I think the judging criteria is not as clear in Classic. When you look at the top 6 and look at the Arnold Classic, all the different types of physiques that you saw placed within that top 6 and where they landed, Logan Franklin in 3rd looked completely different than some of the guys in that top call-out. So while the subjectiveness of Classic seems to be a little bit greater and the criteria seems to be a little bit more pliable, that makes a comparison like Rough Diesel and C-Bum that much more entertaining because anything could happen. Even though Chris might be the bigger guy from a height standpoint and a weight standpoint because his added height allows him to come in heavier, a smaller guy from a height standpoint and a weight standpoint like Terrence could come in sharper, have better posing, and potentially come in and win the show. But that being said, I think that the likelihood of that happening is not very great. I really think that Chris is going to take it this year. But as always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What are your Olympia predictions this year for Classic Physique? Where do you disagree with me? Where do we agree on the placings? Am I completely wrong? Let me know in the comment section below. If anyone else is going to win the show, and it's not Chris Bumstead, who is going to win? Let me know that in the comment section below. As always, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps out a lot. It helps us get into the algorithm. This is a big week, Olympia week. So if you guys want to support the channel and appreciate the content, all you got to do is hit that like button. It really helps out a lot. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.
Dancing in the good light. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. And everybody's dancing in the good light. Dancing in the good light. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. And everybody's dancing in the good